Medicaid 340B, Cuomo is killing me. 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 Medicaid 343, Cuomo is killing me. Medicaid 340B, 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 Cuomo is killing me.
Everything about it kills me. Governor Cuomo is a piece of crap. What? Resign now. 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 Resign now.
Nice. So we're outside Cuomo's office, 633 3rd Avenue between East 40th and East 41st. They're going to be out here today from 12 to 1, maybe a little after. If you're in the area, definitely come on down. There are plenty of signs. Come on out, support.
Tax the rich, pass the bill. Cuomo cuts bill. Tax the rich, pass the bill.
Cuomo cuts kill.
Tax the rich, pass the bill.
Cuomo cuts kill.
Tax the rich, pass the bill.
Cuomo cuts kill.
Tax the rich, pass the bill.
Cuomo cuts kill.
Cuomo cuts bill.
Cuomo cuts kill.
Oh no, it's okay. Yeah, Jessica, I had seen that just this morning. I think the timing was off for me, which is the reason why I didn't even run out there. And yeah, I was definitely committed to coming out here. If it has to do with ACT UP, I'm probably gonna show up regardless of what else is going on.
Medicaid 340B.
Cuomo is killing me.
Medicaid 340B.
Cuomo is killing me.
Stop the cuts.
Stop the cuts.
Stop the cuts. Stop the cuts. Stop the cuts. Stop the cuts. Stop the cuts. Stop the cuts.
Stop the cuts. Stop the cuts. Stop the cuts.
Stop the cuts.
Stop the cuts. Stop the cuts. Stop the cuts.
Stop the cuts.
Cuomo! I'm down here. Where are you? Cuomo! You can hide. Find you. Make me resign.
So they've just started recently. They actually just started, so it's just gearing up right now as things are going along. But like I had told you, if it has to do with ACT UP, I'm probably going to show up.
Cuomo says cut back. We say fight back. 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 Cuomo says cut back.
Healthcare is a human right. Not just for the rich and white. Healthcare is a human right. Not just for the rich and white. Healthcare is a human right.
Tax the rich, not the poor. Healthcare is a right. Tax the rich, not the poor. Healthcare is a right. Tax the rich, not the poor.
Healthcare is a right.
Tax the rich, not the poor.
Healthcare is a right.
Tax the rich, not the poor.
Healthcare is a right.
Tax the rich, not the poor.
Healthcare is a right.
Tax the rich, not the poor.
Healthcare is a right.
Tax the rich,
Not the poor.
healthcare is a right.
Tax the rich, not the poor. Healthcare is a right.
Tax the rich, not the poor.
Healthcare is a right.
Tax the rich.
Not the poor.
Healthcare is a right.
Said tax the rich.
Not the poor.
Healthcare is a right.
Said tax the rich.
Not the poor. Healthcare is a right.
Tax the rich.
Not the poor. Healthcare is a right. Not the poor. Healthcare is a right.
Tax the rich. Turbo tax kill. Cuomo tax kill. Cuomo tax kill.
Now, keep in mind, this is a short action that they're doing today, but each of the groups that are involved in this have been fighting this for a while, and it's an ongoing fight. This is one.
Anniversary of the first recorded COVID case in New York State. It was here. Cuomo has failed us. And when I say Cuomo has failed us, say shame. And they're here because Cuomo's proposal to cut billions in healthcare, in Medicaid and 340B, and he will refuse to tax the rich. So that's why we say tax the rich, pass the bill, it's cuts kill. Tax the rich, pass the bill,
Cuomo's tax kill. Tax the rich.
pass the bill.
Cuomo tax kill. Tax the rich. Pass the bill.
Cuomo tax kill.
Tax the rich. Pass the bill.
Cuomo tax kill.
Tax the rich.
Pass the bill.
Cuomo tax kill. Tax the rich. Pass the bill.
Cuomo tax kill.
Tax the rich. Pass the bill.
fight back.
His healthcare is under attack.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
His healthcare is under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
All right, everyone make some noise.
Yeah! Healthcare is a right.
Fight, fight, fight! Healthcare is a right! 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 Fight, fight, fight!
Healthcare is a right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Healthcare is a right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Healthcare is a right.
Fight, fight, fight.
Healthcare is a right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Healthcare is a right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Healthcare is a right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Fight, fight. Sorry about that, guys. I was getting my voice back a little bit more. I've been saving it for quite a while.
Invest in our New York. Campaign for New York Health. PNHPNY Metro.
Healthcare is a
Human rights.
I guess with our process, I think we really like us to have an interview with you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm up. Right now or?
Yeah, we're ready for it.
You know, it'll have to go.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lucas Peter. I'm a member of the Patel Center for Equity, Health, and Justice. I'm here today not only because of my being a former ex-offender and a current parole, but also because of my having relatives who are currently incarcerated and continuously being exposed to the COVID virus because of Cuomo's irresponsibility and unwillingness to vaccinate the inmate population. So I want to thank ACT UP, Housing Works, Rise and Resist, Vocal New York, and all the other organizations and individuals who are putting this event together, and I thank you for being here. This event is called Cuomo Come Kill, and it's absolutely true because the cuts to HIV and AIDS treatments is harmful, the lack of billionaire tax is harmful, and not releasing incarcerated people during the midst of this COVID pandemic is also harmful in our lifetime. I have a loved one who was incarcerated in New York State, and I want to make sure that he is protected from the COVID-19 virus by making sure that Cuomo passed this bill to make sure that all New York City and all New York State prisoners be vaccinated as soon as possible. Our government has been incredibly neglected when it comes to protecting our inmate population from the pandemic. This was evident through the COVID-19 outbreaks we saw in various correctional facilities. We witnessed many people passing away and many other people being placed in SHU, which is called Special Housing Unit, throughout the various city and state prison systems because of Cuomo's refusal to pass this vaccine to vaccinate the inmates. So we ask Cuomo, if he hears us out here today, to please pass this bill so that the inmates can be vaccinated. And also, we ask him to reduce the number of people that's being incarcerated and violating parole for technical violations like missing curfews, missing parole visits, things of that nature, dirty urines, hoping that they won't be put at further risk of contracting the COVID-19. Our Freedom Now New York campaign is a mirror of the demand at this action to release incarcerated people. Even though more people should not be incarcerated for a technical violation of parole, as someone who is on parole right now, I feel going back to prison because I've been home for 15 months after serving 25 years, and I don't want to go back to parole for something that's non-violent, non-harmful to other people other than myself. So I feel going back. There are currently hundreds of thousands of people who are incarcerated and being exposed to the virus. Incarcerated someone for missing an appointment with their parole officer for being late does not bring any form of justice to anyone. Our parole reform campaign, less is more, hits at just that. Governor Cuomo makes up excuses that incarcerated people are not at risk of contracting COVID, even though they are always in the presence of correction officers who come and go in and out of the facility and have the potential to carry the virus with them when they enter into the facility, as well as the inmate visitors who come to see them on the weekends. God forbid, if one inmate becomes contagious with the COVID, there will be an avalanche of other inmates being affected by this pandemic because Cuomo won't vaccinate the inmate population. So this is why I'm calling upon Governor Cuomo and the state legislature to pass the Less is More Act to reduce the number of people being incarcerated and to release people now who are being held for a technical parole violation. They must also take action swiftly to give all incarcerated individuals access to the vaccine in order to lower the risk of contracting the COVID-19 and save lives. Once again, my name is Luke Steele, and I thank you for your time and for being out here in this protest. Hopefully, Cuomo hears us. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Next up, I want to invite Juwanza Williams from Vocal New York.
Yeah, Joanna.
Okay. Sorry. My name is Shawanza. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the director of organizing at Vocal New York. And I wanna bring us back to center here. Today is the 1-year anniversary of COVID really taking over and causing devastation across New York State. 1 year ago, our governor took up the mantle of being a mouthpiece for the COVID-19 pandemic response, how to do it the right way, and wooed millions and millions of Americans into believing that his neoliberal stances, that his politics were rooted in the needs of those most vulnerable across New York State. And then we later learned that the governor, in the name of fame, in the name of hubris, withheld nursing home death data.
That ain't right.
Now, I know, because CNN is covering it, New York Times is covering it, all the big media outlets are covering it, they were surprised, but none of us were. We know that Governor Cuomo has systemically, intentionally violated us constantly for years. We have fought Governor Cuomo on funding to end AIDS across New York State. And then this guy has the audacity to deny us the funding that we need to house vulnerable people across this state. And then this guy at the State of the State, the first session, said that he ended AIDS. That's a lie.
That's a lie.
Governor Cuomo, at the State of the State, continues to say we have a $15 billion deficit across New York State when it comes to this year's budget. Yet thousands of us, hundreds of us, many organizations have put forward legislation, a package that we know can generate $50 to $70 billion every year in New York State. That's called the Invest in Our New York Act. So I'm here to remind folks that we're here about Governor Cuomo in particular, but we see, following the accusations from two women of abuses of his power. This is post-Me Too. This is 2021. A person that is supposed to be representing all of us who violates even his own staff and violates millions through public policy should absolutely not have anything to do, any amount of influence over what happens with New York State's budget. So, Governor Cuomo's leadership is inept, it's ridiculous, so that also means, therefore, that we need the legislature to stand up for New Yorkers. We need the Assembly, we need the Senate to demand that we pass those 6 bills, the Invest in Our New York Act. And for me, following the fact that, the rent still has not been canceled, and millions of people are subject to eviction, while thousands upon thousands, 90+ thousand people across New York State are experiencing homelessness. And there are answers, there are solutions to these crises. On homelessness, the Housing Access Voucher Program costs $500 million a year to end homelessness across New York State. We're going to take a huge cut out of it. And we got to tax the rich to make that happen. And so I want anybody that listens to this to really understand that Governor Cuomo is not our friend. Governor Cuomo has a lot he needs to deal with on his own personality, his own life. And right now, because of the situation that we find ourselves in, not just because of COVID-19, but because of the subsequent crises across our state that have been amplified by COVID-19, we have an overdose crisis across New York State. We need universal access to medication-assisted treatment and other initiatives like safer consumption spaces, overdose prevention centers, and we need the money to fund those initiatives. And you know where we get that money from? The billionaires that collectively raised more than $77 billion since the beginning of this pandemic. So Governor Cuomo, are you going to continue to side with the oligarchs? Are you going to continue building empire at the expense of vulnerable people? If you are a person of faith, then you understand how that does not align with what we are called to do. We are called to take care of our vulnerable people, and those people are black, they're trans, they're brown, they're experiencing homelessness, they're at risk of overdose, they're in nursing homes. They're in prisons and don't have access to the COVID-19 vaccines. So with that, I say, go forth, hold your senator, your assembly member accountable. There is no excuse. The billionaires will not leave, and you know what? If they want to leave, get the fuck out.
Thank you, Joanza. Thank you. I want to invite people we didn't just bring this book cover as a sign. We invite people to put on a plastic glove, and we have a little bit of red paint. So we invite people to put on a glove, dip their hand in paint, and then smear it across the book cover, the book that Cuomo used to tout his COVID response. So just see Jason right now. Let's put on a glove. Next, I want to invite Mark from Rise and Resist.
Today is 1 year since the first COVID-19 case was announced here in New York. We've experienced a very serious public health emergency in the last year, and that's because Governor Cuomo's austerity politics for a decade has cut public health funding and decimated our public health infrastructure. Now he's even doing it still again. In his budget proposal this year, Governor Cuomo wants to cut public health funding to New York City, the epicenter of the epidemic in our state. And this is the third year in a row that he is cutting public health funding to New York City. And New York City is the only county in the state that he's cutting public health funding for. Every other county gets all the public health funding they're supposed to get. But Governor Cuomo is cutting it to New York City. He also wants to stop indigent care funding to all public hospital systems across New York State. These are the public hospital systems are the places that take everybody, regardless of whether they have insurance and regardless of whether they can pay. And they have formed the front line of treatment for patients during the COVID-19 pandemic. These public hospital systems are here in New York City, they're in Nassau County, they're in Westchester County, they're in Erie County, they're in Syracuse, and they're in Suffolk County. The other thing the governor wants to do is he wants to cut the Medicaid payment rate to hospitals, particularly safety net hospitals that provide a lot of COVID-19 treatment. And lastly, he wants to cut special state funding to hospitals that are financially unstable. And these again are the hospitals that treat high numbers of uninsured patients and patients on Medicaid. So why does Governor Cuomo want to do all this? Because he refuses to ask the ultra-wealthy and large corporations to pay slightly more money than they do now so that we can pay for all the public health programs and healthcare safety net that we need. So it's time for the legislature to stand up against this governor, for the legislature to turn away from austerity politics, and for the legislature to take our state in a new and different direction. It's time for our legislature to pass the Invest in Our New York Act. It's time for the legislature to take some of that money and invest in our public health system and in our public health care safety net. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next up, I want to invite Jennifer from Rise and Resist.
from Rising Resist. I was part of the Rising Resist Elevator Action Group, which advocates for people making the subway accessible. I'll speak briefly. My boss was Andy Byford. Because I have a disability, no one would give me a job, and Andy Byford gave me a chance. I worked directly for him. We're on the path to making the subway accessible. Homo abuse and tormented Andy. As you know, left, Homo put someone in charge named Sarah Feinberg, who is very into policing the system. He is racist. He fills the subway with police. He has worked hard to keep homeless people out of the system, and they are basically throwing accessibility on the subway under the bus, so to speak. So I no longer work for the NTA after Andy left. It was such a toxic environment that I was abused and bullied, so I left. But I hope investing on New York includes money to make the subway accessible, and I hope the senators hold the MTA accountable for doing the work that they were supposed to do, that they're trying to divert the funding for now. I started using a walker a few years ago, and it's devastating not to be able to use my subway. Cuomo is a bully. He's put a bully in charge of the MTA, and he's got to go.
Yep. That's right.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, definitely was related. Next up, I want to invite Damon Grandison from Housing Works.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Damon Grandison, and I'm at Housing Works.
You're going to hold the mic close to your mouth.
Done on behalf of the COVID epidemic. Howsoever, there's more work that needs to be done. You're trying to cut the 340 pharmacy program from us. That would take $250 million out of the budget of different programs and services throughout the city. You cannot allow this to happen under this program. We appreciate everything you've done for us with COVID. Howsoever, you've forgotten that you promised to end AIDS in 2020. We're now standing in 2021, and you have not ended AIDS. You're running around saying you are not true that you ended the AIDS crisis, but it's not over yet in New York City. We need the funding for the 340B program. Thank you for your time and effort.
Yep.
Thank you, David. Next up, I'm going to invite Steve Auerbach, Dr. Steve Auerbach from PhD, the Division for National Health System.
Good afternoon, New York. I'm here, along with my fellow physicians from Physicians for National Health Program, New York Metro, in support of the Invest in Our New York Act. We need to fully fund all parts of health and health care. Housing, is health.
That's right.
Education is health. A fully funded public health infrastructure is health.
That's right.
Jobs are health. A living wage is health.
Yes.
Not cutting Medicaid is health. Governor Cuomo proposed cutting Medicaid before the pandemic. Then the pandemic hit. A smart, kind, wise person would realize they had made a mistake. Governor Cuomo, on the other hand, is continuing to cut Medicaid. For years, safety net hospitals have been underfunded because indigent care dollars are supposed to go to the safety net hospitals and instead are diverted in New York State only, the worst in the country, 50th out of 50 states. The indigent care dollars are diverted to the hospitals that don't need them, to the hospitals that don't take the Medicaid patients, to the hospitals that don't take the uninsured. And that is why safety net hospitals around the state have been closing. And before the COVID pandemic hit, more hospitals were scheduled to close. And after the pandemic hit, a wise, kind, and smart person might have decided their policies were wrong. But instead, Cuomo is continuing to promote hospital closures and is refusing to fix the indigent care pool. Now, we've heard already about the billionaires in New York who continue to get more and more tax cuts, which is what Cuomo promised when he ran the first time, and again the second time. And all we are asking with the Invest in Our New York Act, 6 specific bills, is to have more progressive legislation so that we can tax the people who can afford it, so that the people who can afford it will fully fund things for all New Yorkers. Improve CUNY and SUNY funding, improve pre-K through 12 public school funding, improve access to housing, don't cut Medicaid. That's why PNHP NY Metro supports the Invest in Our New York 6 bill. It's why we, of course, support and continue to support the New York Health Act, which will provide comprehensive, affordable, universal coverage for all New Yorkers, medical, dental, mental health, and long-term care, affordable for all New Yorkers. This is good for all New Yorkers, whatever your skin color, wherever you live in this state. So I plead with our state senators and our state assembly persons, and I plead to you to call your state senators and state assembly persons. You can sign up for the campaign at nyhcampaign.org. That's nyhcampaign.org. And you can sign up for text banking and phone banking, for the Invest in Our New York, and for the campaign New York Health Act. And I urge everybody to do it. And let's also put pressure, especially, in addition to Governor Cuomo, let's also put pressure on the head of the Assembly, Hasty, and the head of the Senate, Senator Stuart Cousins, and demand that they do the right thing and stand up as progressive, true Democrats, if that's what they are, and support the Invest in Our New York 6 bills and invest in the New York Health Act for a better New York for all New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Xu. I'd like to invite Yulin Ko-Shu, who's from the Campaign for New York Health.
Hey everybody, as advocates, we often get asked, how will we pay for it? How will we pay canceling rent? How will we pay for having proper ventilation in our public schools? How will we pay for healthcare for all? Here in the U.S., 42% of cancer patients go bankrupt within 2 years. 62% of all bankruptcies are due to medical debt. 70% of those are people with insurance. Under the current for-profit systems, we pay for it in gravestones, We pay for it in anxiety, in rationed insulin, in piles of pulled teeth. We pay for it with fucking GoFundMe. We pay for it by refusing a 10-cent raise so we don't get kicked off of life-saving Medicaid. We pay for it by letting our bodies deteriorate so that we can pay rent instead. These are the disastrous consequences of continual disinvestment in public health. Austerity measures lead to body bags, outnumbering PPE, beds, and staff during a pandemic. Savings in the executive budget means closure of critical programs and hospitals, skyrocketing mental illness and death, and especially in our BIPOC and most vulnerable communities. Meanwhile, health insurance companies post record profits and New York billionaires get richer.
That ain't right!
We invest in our New York Act and the New York Health Act. Both create structures to redistribute wealth more equitably instead of being extracted from our most vulnerable and marginalized communities, just to line the pockets of corporations and profiteers. We can eliminate profiteers and redirect funds already in existence to people's needs instead of profiteers, raising revenues to invest in dynamic public health infrastructures, as many partners here have spoken about today. These all strengthen our path to guaranteed universal health care like the New York Health Act, so we can survive past trauma, COVID trauma, and the long-term trauma already surfacing from COVID. We can respond to mental health crises or homelessness or addictions with care instead of brutality, punishment, and criminalization. We can have more counselors, social workers, and nurses in schools instead of cops. A historic legacy is on the table. So we responded to this fucking public health crisis by making healthcare a human right. We are facing the same enemy. The same profiteers making us sick, denying us care, and taking our land. That is why week after week we have seen right here and all across the state, housing advocates, education advocates, transit advocates, artists, and more in support of the Invest in Our New York Act. We know that we have been made vulnerable to these crises through intentional and equitable distributions of protections and support. We will no longer be pitted against each other, fighting for fucking crumbs. We know we can have the whole fucking pie.
Yes!
Dismantle this kitchen.
Yes!
And build a new one that meets the needs of the people.
Yes. Woo, woo, woo! Let's do it!
Thank you, Elaine. Now I want to invite Keith Gordon, who is from Democratic Socialists of America.
Woo, woo!
Under Andrew Cuomo, almost 10,000 hospital beds have been closed across New York State. Many of these hospitals have been closed in majority black neighborhoods, the same kind of neighborhoods hit hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic. You can take a look at a map and see where New Yorkers' human rights and healthcare needs have been totally abandoned. Centers of healing in these neighborhoods are shuttered, replaced with luxury apartments, gentrification, and death. These hospitals are closed, or in the obfuscating jargon of the state, transformed, not because they aren't needed by their communities, but because they are not making enough money.
Boo!
It's not right for us hospitals to put profit over lives, especially when we all know the lives of Black, immigrant, and working class New Yorkers have been systematically undervalued every step of the way.
That's right.
Cuomo has devoted himself to slashing the public health budget. He's slavishly obsessed with Medicaid cuts. He instituted a cap in 2011 and refused to budge on it even after the surge of enrollments under Obamacare. He lets the monopolistic private hospitals run by his close allies pay no property taxes, and meanwhile, he lets public hospitals starve for funding and be unable to contribute to their mission. He even reduced reimbursement rates for Medicaid at the start of the pandemic. No slick press conferences or clever repurposing of convention centers will cover up the truth. We are in this mess because of Andrew Cuomo.
That's right.
The solution is clear. First, we need to properly fund our public hospital systems and stop the closure of safety nets like the Kingsbrook Jewish Medical Center in East Flatbush.
Yes.
There are wonky, legalistic ways of doing this. We need to reform the indigent care pool. We need to change the membership of the public health planning committee. But not everyone needs to know all the details. What they do need to know is that change is possible. Come together and demand it. Secondly, we need to tax the rich. We need to invest in our New York and stop letting the ultra wealthy get away from paying their fair share just because they're friends with Governor Cuomo. The austerity that led to these cuts, that led to these deaths, were a choice that he made. And together we must force him to make another choice. Finally, we need to pass the New York Health Act. New York must offer universal coverage, so never again will one of our own get sick, suffer, or die just because of their income, immigration status, or the color of their skin. It's time we have a law that says what we all know is true, that healthcare is a human right. They will tell you they are making hard economic choices. They are lying to you. Even centrist think tanks agree with us. The New York Health Act will save billions along with saving lives. We have the political will. The legislature is with us. And now all we need to do is force Cuomo's hand. This is the movement. Now is the moment. And together, we will get this done.
Thank you, Keith. And now I want to invite up Reeve Breland.
Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? All right, my name is Reed, he, him pronouns. I'm from Housing Works, formerly of New York veteran. So I'm here today because I'm really upset. I think all you are upset too. Is everybody here upset? Yeah! All right, so we saw this week Governor Cuomo's abusive behavior was exposed and unmasked, right, for the public. We need Governor Cuomo to stop the abuse, not just in his executive office, but with his abusive, racist policies on health care. We need him to stop the abuse. Can I get a little chant? Stop the abuse! 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 I want New York's media to be just as mad about the unacceptable abuse that's happening in his executive office as the abusive, racist policies and healthcare cuts. Cuomo's healthcare cuts are going to cost lives. Cuomo's healthcare cuts are going to cost healthcare jobs. You see Governor Cuomo out here with his pots and pans for the essential workers and healthcare jobs that are going to be at risk from these cuts. I don't see him with supporting our healthcare workers. You see him out here when he gives speeches at black churches, and then when it comes to healthcare policy to support black lives, what does he do? He puts in healthcare cuts to Medicaid in his budget that will disproportionately impact black and Latino New Yorkers. So we have now, Cuomo is starting to be unmasked, but we need to further make that link to the damaging racist healthcare policies that are in this budget. Now the legislature, interestingly, for the first time I've ever seen, has actually pushed back on the governor and said, no, we actually need an investigation into your behavior from an independent source. You can't just select your own person. We're going to make somebody independent. Let's give it to Tish James, okay? But what's happening when it comes to healthcare? He's letting his own Department of Health dictate the cuts, rubber stamp these cuts that are going to be harmful for New Yorkers, that are going to cost over 700 healthcare jobs from community health centers and Ryan White providers that serve people with HIV, right? So we have to make that link. We now know for a fact that the legislature has the power to stop him. But it will mean that they have to have the will to stop his racist policies on healthcare. And that's the question. Will they stop his cuts to safety net hospitals? Will they stop what he's doing to destroy our 340B safety net? That is the essential question this year. And we have to do this kind of thing nonstop. We have to call our legislature to make sure they stand up, because now they too have been unmasked. Their power is visible. They have the power to stop him. And they can. If they do the Invest in Our New York Act, they can stop his racist policies on health care. It's a simple solution. That is the line that they get to decide. And it is our job to put pressure, but it's their job, just as they saw an abuse when it came to his executive office and behavior, they need to look at the policy and identify that in this time, especially in this time of crisis, but this was always unacceptable. To go from a state where 4 million people were on Medicaid to 7 million, and you cap the same amount so that there's no more spending, no expansion in funding for those almost doubling the amount of people, that is an unacceptable policy.
Criminal!
And that wasn't me pointing that out. That was Liz Krueger, who is the chair of the Senate Finance Committee. She said that explicitly, confronting the Department of Health, but in a kind of exasperated way, as a throwaway. But you know what? If she wants to, she can pass the Invest in Our New York Act. She can help make that a reality. So let's help make that happen this year. All right, so her office is over there. Yeah, you're right. So let's continue this fight. Let's end with a chant. I don't know if Brandon, you have something you want to end with? All right, so let's line up for the next speaker. But what is very clear right now, all right, is that Cuomo has been unmasked. And the power, your power, is key in this. The legislature's power is key in this. So let's make it happen, and let's continue this fight.
Tax the rich! Tax the bill!
Tax the
Cuomo,
rich.
cut the skill!
Thank you, Reed. I want to introduce really quickly Shahab.
Cuomo, cut the skill!
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Shahid Kamred. I'm a Secretary General Pakistan USA Freedom Forum. My friends ask me, you're going over there, what's the problem? So look, I stand for the freedom of Palestine, Kashmir, Julian Assange. How can I deny my own city and own state, New York, which is at this moment under assault? Because our international known leader since last year, what he done with the poor people, old people, because they care about their publicity. They don't want to care about how many old people died in the shelters, the medical centers. They just care about their name to be elected next time and control the billions dollars. Is all Republican or Democrat? Since hundreds of years in this country, they're doing the same thing. So we are here representing all of you. You are the hero, you are the voice of this country. But please, healthcare is number one thing. Your flying trips, your helicopter trips, please cut it off. Pay the money to the healthcare. If somebody dying in your home, what are you going to do? That's the first priority. It's a simple thing, Mr. Cuomo. You are the family of the political leadership. Your father was 12 years old in New York State, Mario Cuomo. Now you are almost like that. Well, in the last 40 years, it was like more than half. rule this state. This state needs love from you. State means not the area. State means the people. This state is run by immigrants. I want to salute everybody who thanks to the delivery boys. These are our heroes in the last 1 year. They've given me food on my front door. Because we, New Yorkers, as a citizen of this country, we respect us. That's the problem in this country with the police. The brutality. So, being a Secretary General of Pakistan USA Freedom Forum, we want to say thanks to you because you're standing for your people. You're not standing for Mr. Biden, Kamala Harris, and Cuomo. No, you're standing for the millions of people, almost 300 something people in this country. You know, when you're talking about a human, you become a one family. Mother Earth is our mother. You become a one family. We have the same problem. Thank God we are in a good atmosphere, very educated people. When we say something, it's impact. It's a bell to Mr. Modi, it's a bell to Netanyahu, it's a bell to Imran.